More than 70 years after their discovery, fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls are still being counted, studied, and translated. A monumental task, considering that there are tens of thousands of fragments from nearly 1,000 different documents. A handwriting analysis of the Dead Sea Scrolls reveals that they were copied by as many as 500 different scribes.
There were thousands and thousands of scrolls placed in these caves. We only have a tiny, tiny fragment of the total number of scrolls that were originally put in the caves close to the site of Qumran. And that makes it hard to imagine that all of them came from a tiny little site in Qumran.
That idea has now been confirmed by a series of DNA tests performed on some of the 2,000-year-old fragments. It all started in 2012, when a molecular biologist and a biblical scholar met on a bus.
And each of us told the other what we're doing in terms of our research, and we thought it might be very cool to cooperate and to see what we can obtain.
Professors Noham Mizrahi and Oded Ruhavi decided to test the DNA on some of the scroll fragments. But first they had to convince the organization in charge of the scrolls, the Israel Antiquities Authority.
Before we can even sample the scrolls, we had to demonstrate that it's possible to get enough material. So the people at the Israel Antiquities Authorities, they just gave us in the beginning duct tape that was removed from different scrolls. And we analyzed the DNA from the duct tape. Now, only later when we showed that this is even possible and we can get enough information without destroying these precious materials, we can move on to the more important and real materials and samples.
Once they got permission, they went to work using the smallest possible samples.
They scraped just a little bit of scroll dust from the pieces, sometimes from just the, the back side of each piece, because you can't harm incredibly precious materials.
The selection of the fragments was dictated by several factors. I was, of course, interested in fragments that can solve mysteries that scholars have been pondering about for many years now. We tried to sample both biblical and non-biblical texts, and among each of these groups, we tried to find the most interesting mysteries. Of course, our original intention was to sample much more than we actually sampled eventually, and the reason is that the Israel Antiquity Authority has the prerogative to vet our selection. Not every fragment that we wanted to sample could have been sampled. Some of the fragments are simply in such a terrible physical shape that even touching them would cause their disintegration.
Even with the small samples, the results were astonishing.
Imagine we are only sequencing scroll dust, 2,000-year-old, the skin was processed to make the parchment. And later it was preserved in caves for 2,000 years. Still, despite all the contaminations of the different people that touched the scrolls, we were able to find enough animal DNA to say something about the scrolls, which is remarkable in my opinion.
Those samples have suffered so much since antiquity that it is just amazing, miraculous even, that enough genetic material survived in order for us to be able to say something about it and to contextualize it historically.
Almost all of the samples tested were made of sheepskin, except 2 from the book of Jeremiah, which yielded some of the study's most intriguing results.
We actually sampled fragments that represent 4 different copies of Jeremiah. This particular prophetic book has one of the most complicated textual histories among all the prophetic books of the Hebrew Bible.
The 4 Jeremiah scrolls represent 3 different versions of the book. A longer version, based on the Masoretic text that's in most modern Bible translations today. A shorter version, based on the Greek Septuagint. And a 3rd version of the book that was somewhere in the middle.
Which means that the people there in Qumran held at the same time different versions of the book. And unlike today, where we have the exact same version, all of us, they were open to different versions and to different interpretations.
But what surprised the team most was not the text, but what it was written on.
Originally, these different pieces were thought to come from the same scroll. However, we were very much surprised to find that 2 of the scrolls pieces were written on sheepskin, while 2 were written on cow hide.
Since cows need grass and water, they could not have survived in the desert near Qumran, which means that at least 2 of the copies of Jeremiah came from somewhere else.
We can't say for sure that a particular scroll was written in Qumran, but we can say with a fair amount of confidence that some pieces, samples, came from outside of Qumran. And we learned that the texts that were common in Qumran were also popular outside of Qumran.
It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to write a scroll. And they suggested that perhaps originally the scrolls came from the library of the temple in Jerusalem, and before the Roman conquest or the Jewish revolt, they were moved to be hiding here in the caves.
So I think that we solved some mysteries, we uncovered some new mysteries, and most importantly, we discovered that we still have much to learn and new mysteries to uncover. We have a few other mysteries that we would like to solve. We have a long wish list, and we will see how much of that wish list we will manage to obtain in the years to come.
So informative and so beautifully shot. If you've ever wondered how we got the Bible, how it was written, if you've wondered about its historicity, its authenticity, this is your chance. You can get Oracles of God, the story of the Old Testament. It's streaming today. You can get instant access plus a DVD copy for a gift of any dollar amount. All you need to do is call 1-800-700-7000, or you can go to our website, go to cbn.com/oracles of God. You can also text oracles to 80888.
Hey everyone, I'm Ashley Key. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so we can reach more people with encouraging content like you just watched, and so you never miss a beat. See you next time, and God bless.